Alright everybody, as you can hear my voice is a little shot, so we're only going to do 3 heroes, maybe 2 depending on how bad my voice gets. I do want to get this out, but if it gets too bad we'll stop. I do want the audio quality to be decent, not terrible, so we're going to try to do the Man-at-Arms, Houndmaster, and Abomination. If my voice can only make it to the Houndmaster, this will be a 2 hero video, and then I'll probably group 4 and 2 groups of 4 to finish this off. Will be a 4-part series for Hero Trinkets, which isn't bad. Well, actually, it'll be 5 videos. Would have liked it to be 4, but whatever. Alright, so, Man-at-Arms. Things I like on him, it really depends on what you're using him for. For a, obviously and we'll do utility / damage. That's pretty much the 2 things a Man-at-Arms can really do, is good damage or good utility, and we'll talk about that. That includes guard or the bellow debuff, and obviously also doing bolster. So let's just start with damage. That's the easiest. You want to get him accuracy. 105 is average. He doesn't really have any bad accuracies, so any accuracy increase is good. His base weapon's 8 to 14, not terrible but not great, probably middle of the road. I wouldn't go like all out on his damage increasing, because really that riposte is going to be working a little bit of overtime, obviously with potential of hitting multiple enemies that attack him. And actually the really nice thing about Crush is it can hit the 3rd row, and that's where a stress damage dealer tends to be. So accuracy and damage, obviously if we're doing a damage build, I don't think I have to go through too many trinkets on that. If you haven't seen all the other videos, obviously we can start looking for all the quote-unquote normal ones. I'm gonna unequip all trinkets and resort them. Ancestor's Candle could be a choice. I'd probably let that on someone else who needs to be a little faster. He only has 5 speed. The speed is nice, but if you need someone to go first and damage, like a Highwayman or a Shield Breaker, I'd probably prefer to put that on him. But it is a choice, but it's also kind of rare. Anytime you can get a focus ring, his dodge is only 25. So decreasing his dodge doesn't really matter all that much. His normal HP is 55. Have DLC giving it 61. But 55 is the base armor max. That's plenty of HP. And especially since he can get protection, or if you have a quirk that gives a natural protection, you'll have plenty HP to tank. So a focus ring on the Man-at-Arms is pretty much a-okay. You can then, if you want to do damage, you could go something like a Legendary Bracer, decrease his speed by only 1 more, get him 20% damage. So for all that, you get 10 accuracy, 20% damage, and what is it, 8% critical? 5% critical. That'd be pretty good. Like I said, you don't have to completely jack out his damage. If you just wanted to do the Legendary Bracer, but you don't want to decrease all that dodge as well, you could always find something that just generically decreases stress, a Book of Sanity. I wouldn't recommend doing the Feather Crystal. The only reason why I would say that is it only gets him to 7 speed and a little bit more dodge, but decreasing his stun and move resist could actually be detrimental in case you do want to protect someone. You don't want him getting stunned out of it. So actually, as one of the few characters, I would not recommend decreasing his move or stun. He has really no use for a quick draw charm. In some strats, a recovery charm is actually pretty good. If he's going to be tanking a lot, 40% healing received could easily make a Vestal's heal 15 on the middle end. Because if you give her a 10-20% healing increase, he gets a 40% healing increase. You could easily be looking at a 14 to 16. So that's really good. Rampart Shield. We'll talk about in the utility build. It's one of the first things you have, maybe. Almost minus 20% damage is pretty low, though. Honestly, a Sun Cloak isn't terrible early on if you're going to do damage, because he gets that 5% protection, minuses 1, and it is 10 dodge. Another great one is actually the Sun Ring. It gets you the accuracy, it gets you the damage for only 10% stress. So once again, this is backing down earlier. If you're going into a specific dungeon, you can obviously do like the Eldritch Rings and the Beast Rings and all that, getting that extra damage. We'll once again talk about the utility. I wouldn't just focus on the straight dodge. Once again, try not to decrease his stun resist. The Book of Revelation is interesting because the minus stress for also accuracy is not bad in the early game. I don't do dark trinkets. If you do, they're obvious. You can always increase his max HP as well, just make him a big tank. You can just keep his damage as is. There's nothing wrong with that in a utility or just normal damage build. Once again, surgical gloves. This is move resist and debuff, not nearly as bad. The Man-at-Arms does have Rampart, so if he does get moved, it's not the end of the world. You could move him back, but you get your crit and accuracy there as well. Not a direct damage increase, but it is obviously damage increase by hitting and potentially getting a critical, so pretty good. I sometimes do use him for scouting trinkets, because his speed's already a little lower, so if I get a survival guide, which should be around here somewhere, yeah. So if I get a survival guide, it's a -1 speed. His speed isn't the highest already. Early game, you can obviously give him the 10% damage because his dodge is already pretty dog. You can give him a warrior's cap like most melee people, pretty darn good. Other than that, you could give him the health stone as well early on, but 10% HP on who knows what may not even be worth it. So that's damage. Pretty straightforward like most damage dealers. They all kind of generically need that accuracy, speed, and damage increase. All tends to be the same trinkets. Now, the Man-at-Arm utility is where we do get an interesting idea. We have Bellow, Bolster, and obviously I'd include Rampart with that. Oh, and Defender, sorry, there's 4. Command doesn't really matter, doesn't get buffed by trinkets or anything, but obviously guarding, bellowing, ramparting, and all that. So you gotta have to choose if you're doing a bellow like protection build, or if you're gonna be doing more of like a high dodge, kind of a rampart retribution, whatever. He's got a lot of weird utility builds. Obviously, if you're gonna do something with protection right away, guarding, find something that starts them out with at least 10% protection. You can then go up to immediately 40 in the next turn, and then 70 by turn 2. I think 80 is the max end. If you want to go tank, I really do like the Flesh's Heart on him. Gets them to, without the DLC, it would be, what is that, 63. 50% bleed resist gets them to 150. Probably only bleeds on criticals, and on the very lucky end of criticals as well. So I like that because of the HP gain, but also the resist. You could do the Ancestor's Battle, it gives them a little more HP. But you have the negative of the stress as well as the food consumed. You might as well just do the heart if you're that late into the game. I'm going to do both builds at the same time. For a Precision 4 Man-at-Arms, once again, Prophet's Eye is really good. You probably get to go maybe middle of the road, high-end middle of the road. You get that accuracy increase as well. For Bellow, you make that 125, right? Yeah, 125, really high. You'll probably have a good chance of hitting, and then obviously to get the debuff going off. I'll just quickly check through here, sort by hero, just to make sure. I don't think he has any class-specific trinkets that do debuff, but I want to double-check. Because, yeah, healing received, 10 dodge, 10% protection if and fourth. I'm actually not a huge fan of that trinket. I think it's a little too weird. That's obviously Colors Madness DLC. You're not going to have that. So, yeah, he has no trinket that increases debuff. So, I believe the only real good debuff increasing trinkets, honestly, I think it's here and down the what they call this, the uncommon. It's I forget where it's at. It might even be, no, that's resist. There's one that increases debuff chance. Let me just find it. But obviously that's not bad for Bellow. It goes from a 140 to either 150, 160. 170. So yeah, the debuff amulet. You only lose 4 dodge. Gain debuff, resist yourself. And then obviously you pop up to a 170, which for most people, a 170 debuff chance is going to be more than enough to get the debuff off. And if you're not familiar with the Bellow's debuff, it's -10 dodge, -7 speed. Pretty much makes people just come to an immediate halt and gives your people pseudo accuracy. So you don't have great accuracy people on your side, you get it back when you bellow. So I really like that combination. If you don't have the Prophet's Eye, or you don't want to sit him in the 4th position, you can give him protection items. Once again, you can just give him generic stress reduction, Books of Sanity, Arya's Headbox, all that stuff. That way he doesn't take a whole bunch of stress. You can increase his HP in case he's getting hit because he's not doing damage. Fortifying Garlic for all the resistances. So like I said, if he's going to bellow and protect, You can either go the minus stress route, you can go the increase HP route, you can go the protection route. Kind of whatever you are looking for, you could do that. The Overture box wouldn't be bad. 15% HP, 8 dodge. Does bring up to 33 dodge. Not terrible. Pretty good. He gets that 15% HP. And for only a -2 accuracy, one of his util skills are a lot better on the accuracy. Is not bad. So you could do stuff like that. If you're going, once again, pure protection, you could go the Signet Ring. Pretty good. You get that 10 accuracy. You get that 10% protection right away. If you manage to get a quirk that also gives you 10% protection, you're up to 20 by turn 1, 80 by turn 2. Very good. I don't think any of the other ancestor stuff's really that good on them. You could obviously do that for Bellow, but I'd do the Prophet's Eye instead. It's a little better all around for his kind of world. So let's see what else we got here. I think that's pretty much it. You could go the dodge strat, obviously, with like the Overture box and doing Bolster to get him to 43 dodge by the end of his turn, and then I forget how much the Torchlight would add. He'd have a respectable dodge after turn 1, and obviously give dodge to your party. Not bad at all. Sometimes I gave the Tough Ring to him. It's not bad if I'm doing a protection comp and I don't have other ones. The 15% HP plus the 10% protection is not bad. The minus damage, if you're already doing a Guard and Bellow build, you're not really missing that 15% damage, and then you can obviously counteract it with a Book of Sanity. So you'd be at negative 10% stress, 10% protection, and 15% max HP. You lose almost 20% damage, but once again, you may not even be hitting that much, so you may not care too terribly much about all the quote-unquote damage you're losing. To sum it up, the Man-at-Arms, you can pretty much justify increasing or decreasing anything. I wouldn't decrease his HP too terribly much, because once again, he's going to get hit a lot, so you can decrease his dodge. I would say there's really no limit on how low you can go. I wouldn't focus on really maxing out his dodge unless you are strictly doing it for a complete dodge cheese comp. If you're doing that, obviously put on the campfire skills. Lock in quirks that give him dodge. Give him items that give him dodge. But if you're not trying to go for a complete dodge cheese, maybe a dodge trinket, but it has to have like some form of HP or accuracy with it so you can land your bellows or your retributions. You can increase his damage, you can decrease his damage. He's a really wide open character. As long as you build the Man-at-Arms to what you want him to be, he'll be useful. Just don't kind of go in between both worlds where you like want Bellow to be the best thing ever, but on the back end you also want to do like 20 damage like crushes. It's just, you kind of have to pick with them. Typically when I build a Man-at-Arms, I only use the protection for like bosses or very cheese compositions. Same with Bolster. I don't tend to do that with just generic parties. The minus 20% stress is nice. I'd rather just do Bellow, make everyone else's speed and dodge decrease, and then all my people can go again, almost like a pseudo surprise round the second turn. Or obviously I just prefer damage with Crush and Retribution. They can both hit the third row. He can Retribution on your third row, so if you want him to be like a Bellow Retribution kind of guy, he can do that. He can also move forward to Rampart. So either make them damage, where I pretty much make them Bellow into a Retribution or a Crush, depending on how the fight goes. So overall, there's a lot you can do with them. Just make sure you follow through with whatever you're doing. I think the only no-nos I would say is just don't decrease his stun or his move resist. He really doesn't want to move too terribly much, and he also doesn't want to get stunned in case you have to guard with him. And then we get the Houndmaster. I am only going to do this guy because my voice is going. Having children who go to daycare, sometimes you bring things back, and I think that's what happened. Houndmaster essentially has 2 builds. Well, 2.5. It's like damage, the damage bleed, because the damage would be like Mark. The damage bleed would also be Hound's Harry. And then he has the util, which would essentially be Guard Dog, Cry Havoc, and Blackjack. On the Houndmaster, would not decrease HP. Getting 10% from the building, but he has 37 natural, 30 dodge, which is pretty good, but for only 37 HP, kind of fragile. So I would not decrease the Houndmaster's dodge without at least increasing his HP. We're having strong healers in the group. What I would increase on the Houndmaster is his speed, his accuracy, because once again 105 is average in this game. So speed, accuracy, HP, I really wouldn't spend a lot of time quote-unquote increasing damage either, because it's only 7 to 13. It would take actually a lot of considerable abilities to get up there. So what's going to happen is you're either going to do Mark, or you're going to do it against Beasts, right? That's where you're going to get your main damage. Hound's Harry is pretty much good for everything. So let's just look by the hero trinkets real quick. That way you can see like what his like top tier trinkets are, and if they're like even good or useful, whatever. Make sure I didn't bypass those boys. Where they at? Okay. I'm not going to go over Colors of Madness and Crimson Core. If you have them, you can look at them. 20% damage, plus 30% bleed chance. It's okay. The only thing is the healing received and healing skills. You might want someone to protect them, or you want to make sure you have a lot of heals to obviously get through his healing received. Decrease. The bleed chance is really good. The damage is really good. You would then probably just put this a generic accuracy trinket to make sure you hit the whole time. It's a little all or nothing. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is pretty strong. The plus dodge, plus 12 dodge, minus 50% damage early on. This is obviously really good for guard dog. We'll come back to that. Also early on, the common, plus 4 dodge, 1 speed, just amazing early on. And then obviously stun chance if you like the cudgel. Not terrible. Oh, and Houndmaster only. 20% scouting to torches below 51. I guess if you got it, you can put it on, but I really wouldn't recommend keeping the torch below 50. So those are your heroes trinkets. They all serve kind of a obviously a certain build. For the Houndmaster, the actual 10% damage, 6 crit and 2 speeds, really good on them. The damage is just generically good. Gets them up there to like 8 to 15. The crit's really nice for Hound's Harry. The 2 speed gets them to 9, not bad. Once again, if I stick them in the 4th position, you probably guessed it by now. If I can find the Prophet's Eye is amazing on them. I forget where those boss trinkets are at. They should have sorted. Oh, I think I still have it on the man-at-arms, that's why. Yes. So 15 accuracy, great. 3 speed, gets him to 10. Minus stress, awesome. At that rate, you can either get him more dodge, max HP, or damage if you want. So the Prophet's Eye is made for a 4th position Houndmaster, regardless if you are probably, well, not regardless, but really good for a mark or bleed heavy Houndmaster. If you're going to go dodge comp, Ancestor's Coat is good. Ancestor's Scandal, once again, gets them the speed, dodge, and accuracy. Speed, dodge, and damage. There we go. Really good. I actually do like the Wilbur's Flag on him. Gets him 10 more dodge, gets him to 40. Make sure he doesn't get stunned, so he can always go. Wilbur's Flag is one I like for a little bit of a dodge or survivability comp. I try not to put Ancestors maps or scouting items on Houndmasters. Their trap disarm chance, if it's here, is already really good. It's already at 100, so already really good. You don't need to increase that, and most likely there's always a trinket the Houndmaster can use, so I really wouldn't do that. Once again, Ancestor's Pistol, the accuracy speed's really good. If I'm going a pure like Houndmaster's bleed build, you could do his what's it called? You could do his spiked collar, that's what it's called. I don't know how I feel about that. Wouldn't do Cleansing Crystal, obviously. Focus Ring, I only get a little nervous about that because there's other trinkets that give accuracy without minusing the dodge, and once again, he's a little too squishy to minus dodge and HP. Those are definitely 2 areas on the Houndmaster I would not do if you don't have a lot of possible heals or ways to bail out your Houndmaster, especially if you play him like in rank 2. He's going to need a higher dodge and more HP. You can't decrease his dodge and shove him in the first 2 positions or he will just get wrecked. He can get a lot of dodge, obviously, with, what's it called, Guard Dog. Plus 20, it gets him to 50. You'll have the torch. If you have a trinket, you could easily be at 70 dodge by turn 2, which is really good. But you definitely don't want to lower his dodge in any circumstance because he can probably only take like 2 or 3 hits, and then you have to start healing him. So, the Feather Crystal's not bad on him. It's kind of one of those things where you'll just take the odds of getting hit and stunned if it does happen. It's not the best, I will admit, but like getting him to 9 speed and 38 dodge is pretty good. So you can definitely do that for speed and dodge if you want. As we talked about early on, if you're doing a guard dog, cheese, plus 12 dodge with really not too many negatives. Minus 15% damage, who really cares? If you're going to Hound's Harry, we're just guard dog and Cry Havoc. Actually, there was a trinket I wanted to mention with the Cry Havoc. We'll get back to that. Sun Cloak, very good, 5% protection, 10 dodge. 10 dodge early on is really good, and it does take off 1 damage as well. And then also we always get to the Sun Ring, damage and accuracy if you're doing the bleed build. Bleed Amulet's always just generically good for a Houndmaster. If you don't want all the negative ramifications of the Spiked Collar, you can just do the bleed skill chance on that because it's only 10% less. Yes, you lose some resistances. Yes, you lose, what was it, 20% damage. But you don't lose your healing received or your healing skills by, your healing skill by 50% and your healing received by 20. So this is just a safe way to get Hound's Harry to 170. Remember, Hound's Harry's a 150 base chance, not 140. So you already have 10% baked in. Therefore, you now go to 170. That's a pretty high chance, and these trinkets are kind of easy to pick up early on. Camouflage is great for, once again, a dodge strat plus a guard dog. His stun chance, you can put on stun related trinkets if you really like that. It is what it is. Increasing his HP, I would do it if it doesn't decrease his speed. Once again, you don't want Houndmasters going too terribly slow. So with all that being said, speed, dodge, accuracy, and damage, and bleed chance are kind of all what you want to look for. Obviously, dodge if you are looking to do the cheese comp. And one I actually did like recently, where was it? Ancestor's Scroll plus Cry Havoc's 25%. It makes Cry Havoc, I think, -9 stress. I think the game rounds up to, no, it'd be 8. But -8 stress at a 74% chance can actually really reduce a lot of stress across the board. I've done it a few times, and just having the chance to -8 from everyone, you get even -24 per turn on a statistical average is actually really good. So I've done that a few times. If I do like a, I'll do like a Bleed Amulet plus a Ancestor's Scroll, and then maybe in the group I have someone to like increase accuracy to make up for Hound's Harry only 105. It's still 105. You get a dog bone with them. Like, it's not bad, but I do like to prefer to increase his accuracy at least by 10 to get that to a 115 to give about an 80 to 85% chance to hit the higher dodge end targets. Lower dodge end targets will probably be like a 90%. But if I'm going to do Hound's Harry, I just kind of want it to hit everybody, get those possible crit chances going, and obviously just get the damage rolling on the DOT ticks. Thank you for watching. I went through this one a little fast. My voice wasn't the greatest, but overall, with every hero in this game, as long as you identify what you want to do, just start looking for trinkets and saying, am I okay with this trade-off? A lot of trinkets used, I mentioned, are the same ones over and over again, and that's, to be honest, The trinkets I show, you can always find versions of. For example, if you have the Ancestor's Pistol, but not the Prophet's Eye, it's kind of like the same thing. I know it's not exactly, but you get your 3 speed, you get your 15 accuracy for ranged, which Hound's Harry and Hound's Rush is. So once again, you could swap those two out. Yes, this one gives you, like, they're not always perfect, or one's obviously better. Same thing with the Ancestor's Coat. You can do that, or you could go do the Houndmasters where you get the plus 12 dodge for minus 15. Like, that's what I say. I try to show like at least 2 at every level in case you go, well, I don't have the Signet Ring, or I don't have the Fuseman's Matchstick. It's like, well, do you have the Ancestor's Musket Ball? Because that's almost the same thing. Yes, you don't get the speed, and you get a little bit of stress, but if you pick up the Musket Ball, it's almost the same thing. So I do try to show you at least like possible variations you can do. As long as you, once again, build towards the idea and you can find the trinkets that support that, that's where you'll find the greatest success. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry about my voice. I'll try to get 4 out next video. Like and subscribe below.